당연히 아니네. 전주 나 잡아 준비 남지 자와 잡아 준비기 내가 가서 찾아 마셔야 돼. 아주 잡아 준비 제도 취마셔야 되다. 고루 마선의 자주 셈들이 자주 셈들이 좀 만만히 비실게 개봐 있나? 안 잡아 준비 가서 최고래. 이 자주 셈이 심비 돈에 남냠세 카운슬링 받나 상교 고모도 최고래. 디엔자다 자주 셈이 빼마시기 개침보이레스. 디엔자다 자주 셈 로자야기 디엘이야 너무 안지게 자주 셈기 편인디 하고 와 있는 편인들한테 내가 자주 셈 냠슬랜드 동이 좀 바뀌고 요반사 다 자주 셈이 편인시비 리우리 때 차대로 와서
Good evening. So we're continuing in the first chapter of engaging in the Bodhisattva's way of life. And this is a chapter which presents the many benefits of the mind of enlightenment, of bodhicitta. And the reason for this first chapter, or the purpose of this first chapter, is so as for the students to hear about these many benefits to this remarkable mind, leading them to give rise to the determination to strive to become bodhisattvas, to generate uncontrived bodhicitta in their own continuums. And the generation of uncontrived bodhicitta, that itself is the entry into the paths of the Mahayana, to actually be striving to become enlightened for the sake of suffering mother sentient beings. The entry to these paths is uncontrived bodhicitta. To become a practitioner of the Mahayana Dharma, this uncontrived bodhicitta needs to be generated. So for these reasons, Shantideva is outlining in the first chapter the many remarkable benefits of this mind, so as to lead beings to generate an inspiration and a determination that this will be the life where we become bodhisattvas.
지난다 심지어 담주 동화 미디어 봐서 동화 돌뒤게 심여자 동화 매바 소고서 배 삼로 열대 이내야 동화 매바 소액이 탑람 마신 위기인지 아니 지게 디버사시 디기 네 동화 녀야다 아니 개와 치마이나 가서는 계획이 안두스진에 주사고레스 아니 대화디 되고orde 이제 대화 영화에게 된다라 탑람디 대화 주비에게 탑람 야보 마신 위기인지 아니 대화 야고 좀 마신 바시에 안디무비디 왕게 아니 지게 나 저게 루마이스미 디파사에도 아니 대화 연계 잡라 안 동화 연구를 이제 랑게 대화디 자나신 아니 마음에서 시작을 사실 나 뭐든 시게 그 생각 되는 싫어
Last week, in the 28th verse, we looked at how all sentient beings are the same in wanting happiness, wanting to be freed of all forms of suffering. There is no difference between any of us at this fundamental level. But beings, despite wanting to be freed of suffering, never wanting to experience even the slightest of problems, they do not know how to eliminate suffering. And in fact, often when trying to eliminate suffering, they just end up creating causes that will lead to further suffering, both in this and future lives. And moreover, beings only want to experience happiness without any problems. But they are also ignorant about the causes of happiness. And in fact, whilst striving to accumulate the causes for happiness, end up destroying the causes for the happiness as if it were an enemy. So here we see the role of confused ignorance, this lack of understanding of what are the actual causes for suffering and the actual causes for happiness, and how beings tend to engage almost or largely in ways that are contrary to their heart wish.
제 자주심 냠렌지겐데 얘기에 자주심바 지금 냠렌지게 자주심바 근데 지게 상계다 자주심바다는 랑게 라마로 소바데 니게 냠렌지겐데 이게 자주심 요구네 라제네 셈젠음젤데 니게 콘소에 대화 좀 마신 봐 동아 안에 방 마시고 대화 동아에 된게 심절에 닝제 돈에 닝제 제외 돈에 안델라 안지 동아세게 탑람 때야다 디기 주위에 탑람 만으로와 된제 안 건설이야 안지기 대화 개와 치말하다 미고 와도비 대화당 안되네게 녀래 탈바다 탐제 겸비고 띵이 대화 토비게 토바 제발 전에 람든지네 건설라 대비 침발 지고레스 디네자 건축이 동아디기 지게 치마지와 마세 아니 동아여기 유디무 네 민den지게 왕을 동아 바도면 제대나 개와 치면 동아 탐제 안에 매버 쇠벌지 집에 탑람된지 매버 지고레 매버 쇠벌 지고레 해서지 아니 그 생각도 디 네마 데네슈라.
Furthermore, last week we looked at the 29th verse, and this builds on what was in the 28th, which was here having come to recognize the pitiful situation that beings find themselves in. Compassion arises in the practitioner, and they turn to their lamas and to the Buddhas, and make a commitment to guide beings in coming to recognize, to identify the actual causes for suffering, as well as the actual causes for lasting happiness. And moreover, the commitment is made to guide beings so as to eradicate the causes that would otherwise lead to suffering, and to accumulate skillfully the causes that will lead to both temporary, but in particular, the lasting happiness that comes through the cultivation of paths and the progression towards the attainment of liberation and enlightenment. So that too we looked at last week. And continuing now with the 30th verse, also clear where they confuse ignorance, where is their comparable virtue, where is there even such a friend, where is a similar merit.
ane kewa chimi dunga sayadang, ta ngaji le kowa kibi dunga chasang gana shungor sune, ta yu migewa tene yungor ba, dunga chasang yu migewa tene yungor. Chasa di, deshi kasang kisingema shubha na, chinga di dewa dugor te, chisa dewa debi dewa yung tablamla migewa sayada digi chebu, an dunga le. Chisa dunga meba soyage tablamla, pesu chedu, migewa sayadu, dene zuki chubmashimi gengen migawa sayodo ane dunga yongore 제가 제서 dunga에 이거 규제 가르스네 디모들이 해서 마신바 대화 대비 유 탑람 좀 마신바 dunga 매봐서야 탑람 좀 마신바 디모리 해서 디목서 제가 디모데 좀 마셔 디모를 대나게 디모소데 덴지 녀모바 탐지게 세비주 디모 덴지 마릭 바디레 해서 제가 ane 디모 짱네 세와체에서 dunga 내갑다 탈두가 dunga 매바 세바 마세 dunga 유주 사보난 제바 네 세와 매바 빵바야 세와치 거래에서 디묵견에 세와체에서
Looking at the first line, also clear where they confused ignorance. So this builds on from what we were looking at in the preceding verse, which is that all suffering that beings experience, both in this life as what will be still to be experienced in future lives, comes from the accumulation of non-virtue. And beings don't knowingly or intentionally accumulate what is non-virtue. They do so despite wanting to be rid of suffering because of their confused ignorance, their ignorance of not knowing. They end up accumulating causes which they hope will lead to happiness, but are actually causes that will lead to suffering. On the other hand, when trying to accumulate causes specifically for happiness because of their confused ignorance, their ignorance of not knowing, they think they're accumulating causes for happiness, but they're actually causes that will lead to further suffering, both in this and future lives. So therefore, this confused ignorance, this ignorance of not knowing, is what blinds beings to the reasons behind their actual predicament. What beings do not know is what their causes are, or how the causes for suffering and happiness are, and how to investigate well to actually identify the causes in particular behind suffering. When one comes down to the very root cause, the ignorance of self-grasping, beings are completely obscure to this. They have no idea that what the ignorance of self-grasping is, let alone that this is the root cause for all their suffering.
Dini dunga sewa chigore sidu sewa jigen du sure seneda janju sim nyamlen jigen da jige sangye da janju semba da ne jige semjen ya chue tyengen ki tyaba chimi chue nyamlen tyengen ki je lama dige chadeyor wa da je sewa jedi da nyumo ba jiza dimu ba de semjen yukula yor dini ge ma sewa chigore se sewa jigen du sure seneda bene sayagi dimu de suyulo yor sene semjen gi dimu dige mashin ba Dewe Drup Mashing Bata, and Dungan Sege, Tablam Mashing Batigelia, and the Tablam Denje, Sewa Chigor, Sewa Chicken did that, Sushi Gorsen, the Janjusem Yamlen Chicken, Taba Chimpi Kansa, and the Chige La Desugi Ma Che Denje, Sewa Chigor, as soon or Wada.
This term I've translated as confused ignorance. It's an ignorance of not knowing. So who possesses this ignorance of not knowing? It's on the continuum of ordinary suffering sentient beings. And who is it that will clear away this ignorance? It is the one who has cultivated the paths of the Mahayana within them, the Bodhisattva.
지상 하산남다 검도걸 심전 탐지기 동아등에 세워지기 심전 탐지기 디기등에 두긴 세지 지게 저기 두신 학삼 기억을 봐 기회되다 심전의 동아 세다 띵이 되어 주변다 동아 자와의 매버 쇠야디 콘솔리아 지게 칼라제야다 되는 두로저다 디 지기 맨기 튕긴 제백이 내가 대화 준수 매버 쓰는 것도 띵이 되어디 줍투야요 말에 동아 자와의 매버 쇠투야 매르와 메디다나 가르치고래 랍나 콘솔리아 디기 주비게 탑람 땡고고리 해서 냠는 지야게 다 가르친 것은 진바다 수림송야다 진배 냠는 쇠배 고면 전주기 냠는 냠는 되는 지역고래서 마띠 아니 다 녀모베기 동아 유야 규디 녀모바래 진짜 녀모베 녀모바데 디 자와디 다세 마릭 바세야디리 디 녀모데 동방이 또베 셔라 공국을 에센 콘솔 동방이 때 동반요 검주 지산 진보 수련 쇠배 네 띵이진 냠len 제주 동반이 또베 셔라 냠len 제주 디마 냠len 띵고로 와다 베네 자바신 벽이 신인데 이게 두시야 남는 디 냠len 디 냠len 띠니 콘소 냠수 렌지도 다 데어주베 탑 마노와다 동아세에 탑 마노와 띵고래 지디 냠수 레 콘소 디바 띠도 띠네 콘소 냠수 레도 디 냠수 렘발레 띠네 안 동알 마 림베 마 빵니 아니 띵이 되와 탈바다 탐지기 먹고 봐 띵이 되와 더 투고로 봐 제가 내내기 전에 디모세와 지고래 제 디모세와 제다디 제가 건 다음에 배 동방이 또비 셔랍 된 냠수 렌조 디 검조 되는 검발이네 고란주기 동방이 또한도 네 검발이네 녀모바 녀모베규 된세 마리 바체다 제바 방고로 봐 진짜 되는 세와 지고래 진짜 디모세와 제 세와 제다 되네래서
When one is cultivating bodhicitta, one cultivates love and compassion, the wish, which is the genuine wish for others, all others, to abide in lasting happiness and a state freed of suffering, love and compassion. Then these two are developed further to the point beyond the mere aspiration, to where the practitioner develops the determination. I have the sincere wish for beings to abide in lasting happiness. I take it as my personal responsibility to guide each and every being in the cultivation of the causes that will lead to happiness. And I also have the sincere wish for beings to abide in a state freed of suffering. I take it as my responsibility to guide all beings to abandon the causes that would otherwise lead to suffering. So the attitude of the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility is where the practitioner makes a determination that this is my responsibility and I will fulfill it. It's not enough to have a mere aspiration, no matter how sincere that aspiration is. I have to put that into practice. It can't just be a wish within me. I must make it a reality. And so the practitioner then, who has given rise to the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, when they then think, so what is it that beings need? They will not be, the mind will not be dominated by fulfilling the temporary needs of beings, such as ensuring they have sufficient nutritious food and warm clothing and somewhere comfortable and safe to live. Whilst those things are needed, they are not essential. What beings really require are the causes which will lead to lasting happiness. So therefore the practitioner makes the commitment. I will guide beings to help them firstly identify what are the causes for happiness. Not what they currently think is happiness, or will lead to happiness, but the actual causes. And these are generosity, ethical restraint, and patience. And moreover, I want them in order for them to abide in happiness, they also have to be rid of suffering completely, which means they have to identify the causes that will lead to their suffering. And in addition, not only will I guide them to identify the causes that lead to suffering, but I will guide them to be able to actually eliminate from the very root the causes that will lead to suffering. In other words, I will guide beings to cultivate the wisdom realizing emptiness on a basis of concentration. This then is how the practitioner resolves to help beings, to help them accumulate the causes for happiness and help them develop the antidotes to suffering. And because these are the unmistaken methods by which a being can progress towards liberation and enlightenment. So this is the resolve that is made when the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility arises.
Dine zada dine gi tablam ten je chike ma konzulia tunga di YouTube ge tablam lam nyamle gi jimba ten nyamle nyamsu len chu nyomo be nyembo ten gom ju je an semji gi tunga sia da ten gi de ho ju bya de semjelia dine gi phando ju bu inza di phando dine gi ten bala da so so rang gi ya bo ji xing ba chi gu gu re ma xing ba na an ju tu dine gi ten tu ya ka la ka gu ba dine inza da 다디 대시는 쉐데 장주센바다 장주센바 대기게 안 상예다 장주센바 대기게 안 두스네 현된디네 지고래 동아세와 지고래 셰르와다 당 알아 주인이야 현기 된 현기 동아세야나 대기 주별이야 판도 개침부 제바이나 제사 딩 안주의 신고고래 대신바라 다디니기 타블렛 초도 교바데 산요고 파마도 요마라 디네자 심젠 탐지기 된다 심징이 동아세야다 대기 주변에 띵이 되어 콘솔 냠는 땡제 아니 마노와 탑라 마노와 땡제 콘솔 냠수 렌제데 동아세야다 대기 주구구도 디주발랑에 다 산제고마 톱구도 세베 자주스면 공고거래서 자주스면 공고비 김전 계침보디 니인자 디레서 오사데 공고비 김전 나한솔라 지산 자주스면 공고에 김전 계침보임 송고래 지사데 전주선바 냠는 제시간 상계단 전주선바등이 샘지기 된 데네기 디모바세와 지고래 동아 도쩌바 지고래서 두스난 거래서 제사당 안주인의 결혼주인의 다 계시와를 지명하는 송고로 결혼주인의 샘지기 된제 샘지 동아세 디기주 판도 주고 원자 안디자 결혼들이 냠는 제라 샘제 탐지상 요거바 토버쇼 장주샘 냠는 제 오래 장주샘 토 냠는 제 되는 아니 지안이야 되네 판바주 두고래 송송걸 와다
So the practitioner recognizes that sentient beings need to be guided to identify the causes for happiness and suffering, as well as then skillfully guided to accumulate those causes. And in the case of suffering, to cultivate the antidote to the afflictions. Because the practitioner recognizes that this is what beings really require. They require the skill for themselves to cultivate the causes for happiness and to apply the antidotes to their afflictions. But the practitioner then also recognizes that in order for them to do so, they need to become greatly skilled themselves. Because if they lack even knowledge of this, how can they teach others? Or if their knowledge is merely intellectual, they really cannot guide others. So this is what the practitioner uses to motivate themselves to strive in their spiritual development. So if the practitioner is already a bodhisattva, this will be what their way of thinking that will give them power to strive to become a Buddha. Because it's only a Buddha who can flawlessly present the unmistaken path to enlightenment to each being in accordance with their own unique karmic disposition and spiritual background. Only a Buddha can do this flawlessly. So this is the motivation that a bodhisattva has. So for someone like ourselves, who aspire to the paths of the bodhisattvas but are yet to cultivate such a path, we actually use the same reason, but the goal is a bit different. We have as a goal to become a bodhisattva. But the reasoning will be the same. Because when we recognize how beings are suffering like us for the same reason and require the same solution that we are trying to develop within ourselves, we give rise to the wish that just in the same way as I want to cultivate the causes for happiness, actually others need this too. And just like I am trying to apply antidotes to the afflictions, this is what others need to be guided in too. But right now, I'm very limited. I'm still overwhelmed by my own confusion. Therefore, I have to become a bodhisattva. Because when I become a bodhisattva, I will be greatly skilled compared to how I am now and can be of immediate benefit to others. So therefore, the line of thinking for us ordinary beings as well as those who are already bodhisattvas is the same, but the goal that they use this line of thinking towards is different. The bodhisattva will use this way of thinking as encouragement to strive to become a Buddha. We use it to strengthen our resolve to, in this very life, become bodhisattvas.
Timuk tamche sewa serje pa se sundu tangado du jike samna da yu kabla a de nege janju semba da sangye da janju semba tamje gi khonzo janju sem nyamlen che di yu janju sem yu kunne la che semje tamje ge dungha se ya dan di ju ya tablam de nege lam nyamli rimba de sewa ji gores de nege be ya wo re san bya zu jesu yi ra pe ma se de nege ge den chen ba jesu yi ra kom ya jesu yi ra kom na da khonzo de ne che ba de nge ne 마나이네 심제 탐지기 디기 주변에 심동아 생이 지고도 디엔자다 네네다 산요 고마 토바치기 톱네 전주심데 냠렌지는 거랑길래 전주심데 기도 깨버제네 건조 제반하지 네야 되는게 지인 셈비게 삼단에디 되는게 냠렌 샤리야 판도 주변에 된다라 네 전주심 산지요 고마 토바쇼 셈비 전주심데 마게데나 냠렌 마진데 탑면데 냠렌 제고도 셈비게다 dum바당 되는게 안데 셈슐 마소나 만주기 두시네 기획이 나도 냠rel라 디고고어 당하실래 되니게 산 두시 건주기 대체바디 파 통주 직계수를 송여도 대래 제수 일하셔야다 이 뭔바제배 약월했으면 나한테 제고선배 되네장이 나 전주쌤 냠렌제 전주쌤이 교바 길에 요아견에 탑면도 깨버 지인 선배기다 되니게 dum바 깨워야 돼 송고를 당해서 나한줄이야 잘 냠렌제를 디고고를 송고를 받아
Here then, when we've reflected on how bodhisattvas, why and how bodhisattvas are striving for the sake of others, when we reflect that bodhisattvas have identified how ordinary suffering beings like ourselves are in desperate need for skillful guidance to be able to identify the actual causes for happiness and how to cultivate them, and guidance and encouragement to do so ever more, as well as in desperate need for guidance in how to recognize the causes that lead to suffering and how to abandon them, and how to cultivate the antidotes to suffering, we can give rise to a great joy within we're recognizing how remarkable Bodhisattvas are. All that they are doing is focused on others not that different from ourselves. Recognizing the uniqueness of Bodhisattvas, how they genuinely put the needs of others first and foremost, and put their entire energy into fulfilling the needs of others in the most important of ways, a great joy will arise within us. So this is the process of rejoicing in the good qualities of the Bodhisattva. And there's a very practical purpose to doing this reflection. Because when we rejoice in the qualities of the Bodhisattva, it also will lead to us thinking how wonderful it would be if I could emulate them, if I could be just like them. And we do so with the recognition that each and every Bodhisattva was once no different from us. So they have been able to do it. And they make it very clear that I can do it. That all my limitations are self-imposed. I can let these go, and I can emulate them. I can take them as my role model and emulate them. So taking the rejoicing, the mind of rejoicing, which comes about in recognizing the remarkable qualities of the Bodhisattva, we use this then to give rise to a determination. I will emulate them. I will generate bodhicitta. Nothing else matters. I will set this, the generation of bodhicitta, as my heart intent. And this generation of this heart intent now is already bringing great joy to the Bodhisattvas. Because their heart intent for me is that I do generate bodhicitta. So in this way, we use the mind of rejoicing to bring about an unshakable determination to become bodhisattvas ourselves.
데네기 탑람 덴제 냠는 제싱엔 덴세데 술요서네 하다 미로시마도 셴 눈로 가시가시 연구를 지나 조들 하다 미루와 맞아 하다 밀마 최시 냠는지도 바제 체게 시에나 아니 제시 토야 냠는지 고 비여데 바르마도 제 냐와 바스다 데네기 안치기 지나 눈로다 이다 세아티길로야 갈레 하보르 와데네 시에데야 가시가시 연구를 마도 신요마 진행자다 저저 최시에学的 미달 할마 시고고래 아주 냠는 좀 받대야 디네 곰제 코드 지워서 지산다 하다 미고 바로 좀 마통다 최년 시사의 라고 말하죠 상기나 전시 수위네 상기네 녀발의 최시사 갈래 하보라 가서 미니 구고 말와 지금 고도야 둔도다 되네 지산다 하다 미리에다 저로지 지산 하다 시사들 하다 밀리 시고고래 판도 주세대 델레 주고 말도 샘제 탐제래 최시사요 말에 디기로 지산 안에 냠는 제해는 곰제들 하다 미 곰제 두고 말지 녀바다 둔로다 디니게 지 곰제 갈래 하보러와 디네 인자 하다 미고 방 토베기 원뒤 류딘 토베 빼마서 기에치 뭐 유차들 지산 샘제 탐제기 된 제발라 최시 냠는 제를 디인데 마송서디야 하다 미고 방 원뒤 고바 고고래 냠는 곰근 가사 된 원뒤 고바 땡지 공고거서 지산 원뒤 고바 세 빼마서 기에치 뭐로와 디에체모 인자 디네자 상기기 가서 럼르나라 시에도 담보코로네 기후 그래서 개와치 원뒤 고바 토바집이 탑라 아니 지게 람녀 림바 냠는 지다 림바 띵고로와 지산 디네자 안주이네 도치데 디에체모 인자 아니 지게 셈제 둔조리다 데니스이네 하다 미고방 토블이야 토발이야 베준직 탑시다야다 지상 원dio 고방 토고야지 소수이네 현리에 판도 주야라 원dio 고방시 톱네 하다 미디 톱네 판도 야치모 주투고마도 원dio 고방 마톱나 아니 판도 주야 갈라고라 소수이 둔조로시네 판도 주야 갈라고라 지상다 최 순간이네 안주 원dio 고방 하다 미 리딘 디딘의 현리 판도 주고고래 최 송서 유디 송서의 유디야 하다 미 리딘 데닝 원dio 고방 샤와 토바지 고고래 제가 디네자 딩원dio 고방데 베마스 기에침보리스 제가 당한 저기 진짜 원조 타다미 고바 토야 진짜 되니자 먼저 냠는 집이 갑래나 당보 출 가서 집에냐 주진냠네 소야 뒤로와 원조 고바 진짜 원조 고바 토나에 띵딜이야 안지게 지 튕기게 강아쇼 주에네 니 고즈 최신나 예 갈래 하고 안니 지 최주에 갈래 하고와 사야 동야 단 동아에 나 되어네 진짜 되니자 되니 경원이 된 주에 될이야 안 튕기게 유용해야 될 진배냠네지야 제사다 원dio 주바나야 원보 마창바다 데니기 지고 원바다 꾸바라 데니나 난 최시에 시사다 예 갈래 하고서 네 수배냠네 적어야다 어두시네 아직 차사 튕게 야보 예바시 아니 원보 차사 사와수고 타나 예베네 최리에 되게 둔바면은 안 최시에 갈래 하고와 아니 예 닝게 말와 데니자 존주이냠네 적어래 제산 최냠네 다데 가신 급여 존주이냠네시네 저와치마 안 주최냠네 둔바더니 리고와 데니자다 지금 원dio 고방 토야데 유청 배계 첨부 디자다 원dio 고방데야 토베 규데라 제산 추르냠네다 지메냠네 쇠베냠네 존주이냠네 세데 소야데 수진 계침보진 당보하지 파신주의 냠네고 당보는 진배냠네 추르냠네 쇠베냠 존주이냠네 송용고로와 데네 디젤라 삼단의 셔럽냠네 송고로와 제사디 원dio 고방 토야데 계침모 시원자 디 송고로와
Yeah, the recognition is very clear. What all beings need is to be guided into recognizing the causes for suffering and how to abandon them through the application of antidotes. And also, going along with this, to recognize the causes, the actual causes that will lead to happiness, and skillful guidance in how to cultivate the causes for happiness. So what all our suffering beings need is to be guided in this method, in this technique, for cultivating the causes for happiness and eradicating the causes that would otherwise lead to suffering. But not every being can be guided in this way. In fact, it's only really humans and some gods who have the capacity to be guided in this method. Whilst there are a handful of spirits and animals, literally a handful, who can be guided, almost all cannot be. It's just humans and some gods who have the capacity to be guided in this method. Therefore, rebirth as a human or god is incredibly important. And rebirth as a human or god is incredibly important both for the practitioner who has developed or is developing the determination to be of benefit to others, as well as for those who are suffering, lost in their confused ignorance. So for both groups, for those who have the wish to benefit others, to help them, guide them towards attaining lasting happiness, they themselves need a good rebirth because those that need to be guided are only to be found amongst humans and gods. And similarly, suffering beings, so as to not be born in the lower realms where the suffering is so intense that it makes it near impossible to spiritually develop, they require a good rebirth as a human or god. So therefore, they need to be trained in ethics. And the one who wants to train them, they themselves need to be skilled in ethics. Ethics being the primary cause for them to achieve ongoing good rebirths so they can be of help to others, as well as the primary way that they can help others to receive a good rebirth. So too with generosity. The practitioner, they themselves require good conditions so as to be able to help others, but certainly for the beings they want to help, if they manage to live an ethical life and thereby attain a good rebirth, but they are deeply impoverished, they will not have the time to be able to listen to teaching, certainly not in a concentrated way, and they will definitely not have time to meditate on their teachings because their basic needs are not being fulfilled. So therefore, the practitioner needs to themselves become skilled in the practices of generosity so as to guide others in the practice of generosity. So too with patience. The practitioner, they themselves need to be skilled in patience so as to guide others in this crucial practice, so that in future lives, beings can abide in harmonious relationships with others and thereby have less obstacles to spiritual development. And fourthly, that of joyous perseverance. The practitioner wanting to be of benefit needs to be skilled in joyous perseverance for their own benefit, but also so they can guide others in it. Because the ripening result of joyous perseverance is that one will delight in virtue. One will have a personality that is inclined towards virtue, that is disinclined to non-virtue, a personality that delights in virtue and an interest in the Dharma. So therefore, the practitioner needs to be skilled in joyous perseverance so that they can guide others too. So it's for these four practices are of great importance because they lead to an excellent rebirth. And an excellent rebirth is required for both a spiritual practitioner to be able to help others, as well as for those that they want to help. And it's because the attainment of a good rebirth is so foundational to one's spiritual development that is presented at the beginning of the Lamrim. Only afterwards in the Lamrim are the presentations on concentration and wisdom given, because this prior foundation has to be cultivated for the latter trainings of concentration and wisdom to be successful.
Idala sopada lada denegi mi number mango juishine and denegi the bene dundro juish dundro zelia horanzuda dundro najin horanji ju and delaya dundro shanda degelia and gewa tubiaki tablamro denchik des gewa tubiaki besu denes jungtuyada jada ridada denegi idala sopada lada denegi juishine mila so number gang 직함 되게 주변 망고 되는지는 대소 념도 되시는 콘솔이야 개와 치말하다 미고부터 개와 쌓야기 누시네 탑람 되는 거와 되는자다 아주 생기 돼 지코솔에 냠는 띵기 대와 토야다 타도 산주고바 토야 탑람 땜발라 콘솔 리딘디 아니 지게 하다 미팅 켜바친 고고래 지선 되게 용야라 양아주기 배수시대 콘솔에 판도 주별라 지선 산주고바 톱는마도 산주고바 톱나 되게 판도 줍투고도 된자 현이 판도 주별라야 산주고방 내바도 톱고도 지선 심전 담지기 된다 판도 주별라 심전 담지 산주고바 톱버쇼 세베 전주심디 냠는 지역화데 아니 계치모 시월에 사지 되게 김전단에 지 계치모 임바 송고로와
For those practitioners who have attained the state of perfection, they have no limitations in how they can benefit others. Others, of course, have great limitations from their side, but the Buddhas will always be there to help others in whatever way they are most suited to. So therefore, the emanations of the Buddhas fill all realms. Buddhas will emanate as animals and as spirits to try and guide beings in those realms as fellow animals or spirits in a way that that being can be benefited. So even if the benefit is slight, the Buddhas will still wholeheartedly do so. And similarly, Buddhas emanate as human beings to guide human beings in the way that we are most amenable to. But in particular, with humans and gods, they will try to guide us to develop the paths in our continuum to progress and attain liberation and enlightenment. And for ourselves wanting to be of benefit to others, we are not able to have any emanations, but where we can help, we need to do so. But we also will recognize our tremendous limitations, especially when comparing ourselves to our role models, the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas. So therefore, to the extent that the wish arises within one to be of benefit to others in a meaningful way, we must use this intent to have as our focus. We need to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And the way for ourselves to express this I need to become a Buddha for the sake of others, is we should strive to develop bodhicitta. Because it's bodhicitta that is the gateway to the paths that lead to the attainment of Buddhahood. So we need to enter through that gateway and attain the initial paths. So therefore, whatever wish we have to be of benefit to others, and particularly in the most meaningful of ways, we should use that to have as our focus to become a bodhisattva and eventually a Buddha, and therefore have as our goal the development of bodhicitta.
Tibetan Geshe Gala Yose to Chisan Chanshu Semgi Gune La de Shengi Dunga Seata Dunga Yu Sabona Cheba Meba Bane Ya Sangye Sala Goba Cheba Isa Chanshu Sem Masa Gewa Tup Chimbo Da Nuba Chimbo Shure Chisan Chanshu Sem Nashin Gewa Tsumba Jibo Inge Gewa Tsumba Kaya Yo Mare Sorda Chanshu Sem Chisan Chanshu Semgi Gune La Je Chanshu Sem Bada Sangye de Chanshu Semgi Gune La de Semje Tamji Yu Dunga Seata Dunga Yu Timu Tenzina Cheba Sabona Bangba Cheya and the Topja and the Sanji Tarbada Tamji Kimbo Kopa Toba Chigor was. Chisan Chanshu Denigi Chanshu Sim Gunya to Cheba in the Chanshu Sim Massive that Sunam Chemboda you gave out of Chimushuris. Chisan Dedan Kisung said Deda said Chanshu Sim the dance order. Dedan Gawa Chiba Incan Nuba Chichun Chiba Incan Shanda Yomares or Chanshu Simle Topic Gawa Gachewa Yomares or Dedan Kisung Gala use. Chisan Chanshu Sim the Gawa Top Chimushuris. Mare Gawa Sena was the Dibana Gawa Sejura. Chanshu Sim the Gawa is. Chisan Chanshu Sim the Chimba the Churu Soba Zundra Soba, Chanshu Sim Nashin Gawa, the Nig Nuba Chichun Yomares. Chisan the Chanshu Sim Nashin Gawa Top Chimuchungo Mares. Chanshu Sim Meba in the Jimba the Churu Tomba Yogomba Inaya, Sanji Goban Top to Yada, Simjan Tamji Jordan Chetuya Yungumares. Chisan Chanshu Sim Yunga Yungur. Chisan Chanshu Sim Nashin Gawa Shanda. And the Chanshu Sim Nashin and Gawa Tsumba said that Chipa in Nuba Chichung, Chipa Imba, and Gayo Mares Gala use.
The second line, where is their comparable virtue? So these lines, this line, the comparison is to bodhicitta, because there is no mind that can be compared to bodhicitta when it's through bodhicitta that one will eradicate suffering and its causes in their entirety. In other words, when bodhicitta has been generated, one will thereby eradicate ignorance, the ignorance of self-grasping, together with its seeds and imprints. No other virtuous mind can lead to the complete eradication of the ignorance of self-grasping, its seeds and imprints. Therefore, there is no virtue comparable to bodhicitta.
That did she young Gala, you said, that she said, Yen do says, Yen says, as you write, Jezan, Denigi, Danganzuli, Yen said, Pamada, Bunyata, Soso Drobo, Yapoti Sigua, the Jesuit, then Anzulia, Ichike, Ganga Yuna, Roche, and Ganga Seada, Roboche, Pando, Denigi, Yungur, Vada, Yanzuki. Inayang, the Sugi, Tidizam, Dunga, Jetian, Dustus Mato, Nurture Chick Pember to a Mares, Jason Danzuki, the Yin and Zuki Punja, Yen, said she would Sigor, Vada, Dene, the Jizam, Denig Sigor, what? This I didn't see when I said Dizam Dunga, the young Nerap Chigmato, and said to a Roboche to a Mebares. Janju Sim said Yobana, Janju Sim, Diugunelande, said Dunga, Gewa Chimi Dunga, Dunga, you sabona Jeba, my Meba Soba Chicores, and Hansul, the Meba Pando to Gore. Chesang Hanzuki, Dingy, the Hotting Hanzulia Drum, Hanzulia Druba Chicore. Chesang Denizang Hanzuki, Dile Haji Yomares, did she Yangala use. Chesang Janju Sim Nashi, Yen Shi Hanzulia, Yen Shi Sadi, Janju Sim Nashi, Gaya Yomares.
The third line, where is there even such a friend? This too then is a comparison to bodhicitta, because whilst in this life we do have people that we can rely on, and those who are dependable in that they will always be there when we need them, our loved ones, our close friends, and so forth. They are only able to give us some temporary benefit, some temporary assistance in this life. They cannot do much more than that, no matter how much they may care for us. But the dear friend that is bodhicitta, this cannot be, no other friend can be compared to bodhicitta, because this dear friend of bodhicitta is able to help us in the most profound of ways, in the complete elimination of the afflictions together with their seeds and imprints. Therefore, there is no friend like bodhicitta.
ane sunam dirang kala yus. Chinada deshi shebane janju sem nashin sunam chimboshi kayo mares. Karsan janju sem sayadi kom chedo jawa semjen tamjile nyering gyune meba semjen tamjegi dondala samdang kora. Semjen tamjegi donda, semjen tamjegi donga. Jiza miyu diya semje diya semjen tamje nyering me semjen tamje. Digi ene jige ma segi nyomo diya nyomo ba 바샤데 제바 용수 바샤데 제바 아니 세와 지고래 톱자디야 톱자 라나메 바 산주고 반 딜레 하바메 바 톱바 지고래 지산 전주 셈지 군년라지 되는 제바자 지사다 체두자 셈징이 되네 제바네 배 야첨부 방자 녀몽어 차다 용수 조 바샤데 방와 지고래 톱자 기위질래야 톱자 라나메 바 산주고 반도 톱바 지고 딜레 라바 톱바 연den지 매바지 톱바 지고로와 되네 이자다 전주 셈디 뱀 마스베 수남 첨부 쇼레스 지산 전주 셈 나시 수남 첨부지 요 말해서지 지산 수남 대장 갈아유 전주 셈 나시 근데 셈 수남 샤나 가요 갈아요 말했어 가요 말했어지.
The final line, where is a similar merit? So bodhicitta here too stands out. There is no merit like bodhicitta because bodhicitta has at its very heart the well-being of each and every sentient being, without exception. And the way of this bodhicitta expresses its wish for the well-being of others is in the most meaningful of ways, the complete eradication of the afflictions together with their seeds and imprints. And then thirdly, the goal that is held in the heart of bodhicitta is for each and every sentient being to progress towards liberation and enlightenment. So therefore, there is no merit similar to bodhicitta because bodhicitta alone holds each and every mother sentient being without exception. Moreover, has as its object of abandonment all the afflictions together with their seeds and imprints, so the greatest of objects of abandonment, and likewise, as a goal, the greatest of goals, leading all sentient beings to enlightenment.
곧 녀모바 사본다 집이 님보치 빵지 탈바고와 톱투고데 자주셈 고마메나 돈이 가서 고마나야 녀모가 바차기 님보치 산조고와 톱투에 균에 톱투에 메르와 진짜다 돈이 또 자주셈기 심네 심비토네 군네는 심비토네 돈바니 또 베셔라고 반다 다 녀모 바차디 집바 빵투야다 님보 차야다 하는 산조고와 톱투야 최고 제자디 자주셈기 뉴비기 깽이 뒤치고 저사지 전시샘디 아니 지게 전시샘 공부에는 될라 때네 계획이 전시샘 공부 돕기 개와치 말하다 미고 와토야 안데 탈배고 와토 투야다 안데 탐지기 먹고 와토 투가 준 거래 저 전시샘 매바 있나 지게 동방이나 진바도 주름로서 봐 그제 공부에네 하다 미고 와다 탈배고만 토바 용구리마다 산요고바 토투야다 전주sem바 차투야기니요 말해 와서 지산 전주셈 공부하는 데 용구도 지산 전주셈을 라베교선함 나데네기 돕침보지요 말해 해야지 지산 다 전주셈을 빼마서선함 침보 돕침보 랑라 펜바랑 셴레 펜바라신 차사 디기 띵이되어 두예기 규소데 전주셈을 샤서 송고를 디네 송여데 된다라 기시지와라 침배 가르 송고로서는 지네 인자다 전주셈디 빼마서 공부해야 되 기침무시우레스 저한테 전주셈 길에 유엔디게 뭐 공부도 따야다 전주셈 맞게 받기나 빨바지게 데리야 듬바게 데니야 곰제 샤슈셈 냠렌지 귤에 깨버셔야 돼 게침보시 우리 세제 당하줄이야 랍제디 딘난고래 데니 나와서 당하주게 지게 냠슬래디 다 게세 시발에 쳔비게 되는 소아디 배 마찬가지로 그린 쳔비 당하줄 랍제게 위에서 비게 지게 야 안에 그린 쳔비 토네 그린 제야다 안게스 시발에 쳔보다 전주셈바다 안에 상게 코로나주기도 냠렌지 셈지게 된 바도메 바제바디게 배마서 야고 슈이 세베 제수게 와래 제수 이라제야 안에 지게 그린 제수제 랑게 라마다 상게다 게스 시발에 쳔방한줄에 그린 쳔보이 비게 그린 제수제 안에 되네 나라이나 되니게 냠렌지 또 바지기 셈비게 듬바이게제 당하주게 전주셈데 안에까지 곰투야디 공고에대 자고를 받다는 게 냠는 자외나 두스 고고를 당한지도
Here we, having once again presented the remarkable good qualities of bodhicitta, and that there really is no other good quality that can be compared to bodhicitta. Even something exalted such as the wisdom realizing emptiness cannot be compared to bodhicitta, because no matter how skilled one is as a meditator, meditating on the wisdom realizing emptiness, it can only lead to the abandonment of the afflictions together with their seeds, and thereby the attainment of liberation. If it's not conjoined with bodhicitta, that's as far as the practitioner can progress. Whereas, and similarly, no matter which of the many virtuous qualities one cultivates, such as ethical restraint, generosity, and so forth, these will lead to good rebirths. And if one that includes concentration and wisdom, these can even lead to liberation. But they all have a finite goal, a limit to what they can lead to. Bodhicitta, though, it and all the virtuous qualities conjoined to it lead to the attainment of the perfected state of Buddhahood. It does not have any limits in that it leads to the being attaining the state of perfection beyond any limit. Bodhicitta leads to so much merit, so much benefit for oneself and all others. So this is being presented here so that on the one hand we can really come to value bodhicitta, and we can generate a deep, sincere yearning to cultivate it within us, to have the cultivation of bodhicitta as our heart's goal, to look to attain to cultivating bodhicitta in this life and having bodhicitta thereafter as our guiding light. And secondly, the qualities are presented here the qualities of bodhicitta are presented here so that we can recall to many great bodhisattvas that we have either met through their biographies, such as Shantideva, or that we've met in person through our teachers, and recognize just how remarkable they are. Recognize how they hold ourselves and each and every sentient being dear in their heart. And in this way, generate a deep faith in our teachers and in this lineage of incredible beings, and commit to fulfilling the human potential that we all possess, this potential that they identify within us, and thereby strive to become just like them. Now the text enters a new outline, which is that of praising of bodhisattvas. The first verse is a praise to an illustration. So the 31st verse If whomever repays kindness is deserving of some praise, how much more so bodhisattvas who freely do good.
판도 렌드에 가인바 대야 레싱아 오베나세 베시오르다 디 지기데 베가르시오르스나 다 나주게 베네 지게 셴다질이야 지게 지코미 미시나 강아유리 갈량아스 파 로바체네 로바체바르와다 로바체바이나다 콩간주 판다바리로와다 판다바스 렌드는 세든 모바나 양아즈리아 지치카르도 거기 예망한지 파 콜리아 로바체셔야 되기 미디게 오 간줄 갈야 예마 미디가 로바체서 당이 파 로바치긴스네 간줄야 수지 로바체바이나 당한주 가르섬그레스네 수한주 렌제바르와데 렌드 로바체바르와데 예망한지 파 로바체 판다바인자 니기 미 렌리아 다등한지 강호 유디캅라 간줄야 로바체바르와데 렌드바서 제사 렌드바 디니기 섬여도 렌드에 간주 가르섬서 대야 레싱아오이나 시름 어 미디기 에냐마 콜 판도장 코잉이 판도바디 깨진 젠제네 나래야 온다데 징할이야 로바치에서 빼야고래 선비 미디베 지미 야고래도 왔습니다. 야고래도 왔습니다. 빼 야고래 에세드 선거로 와지나 레싱아오이나 그 미 야고래 샤스가 좀 디닝가 뭐 주고로 와서 왔다 빼디디리.
So looking at the first two lines, if whomever repays kindness is deserving of some praise. So here we can think of instances where you have helped others, where you have shown kindness to others, where you have been there for others, perhaps even helped them with something that was quite challenging, quite cumbersome, but nevertheless you helped them. Then later, when they return the favor, when they, with a sense, perhaps with a sense of gratitude even, when they help you out in return, that is greatly appreciated. You may have helped them from your side willingly, without expectation of something in return, but nevertheless, when that person then later does repay your help, repay your kindness, there is an appreciation for them doing that.
네네게 지사 네네 연구로 하다 이제 지사 가시를 니마 파 판도 전에 수갈레 지강아 체도 제랑아서 옹알이야 지키 로고지를 질렀네 로마지나 안수마지나 안에 가르면 당이 니마 코론 갈레도 갈랭이 파 로고지 나 갈레도 지강아 제롱알 로고진 지미 미디 빼 독지를 샤사 되가 저기 견주제 차이로 와 지사 소속이 니마 파 판도지도 술이야 강아체도 술이야 로고치바나 당이 님이 지금 미디 뺑이 니마 판도지 수야 미 수야 로고치고도 빼 맞아 미디 약고래도 와서 병아지 땡아 지고로 와다 내도 나디시 월지사 레시 판 파팔 판다베게 수 아니 렌지 펜비 렌지 다 렌자 제바이나 대양아주 가브리리아 레식스 내가 그런 건빼 약고래서 해야 미 약고래시야 생각서 갖고 주기도 와서 니네게 다 베디디체.
And similarly, if we do help someone, especially if it's something that we found a little challenging, if they don't help us in return, we may really question the next time we have the opportunity to help them. We may question if we are going to put ourselves out again. In particular, if they didn't even show much appreciation for what we did for them before, or if we felt taken for granted, that they expected that we should help them. So this will certainly pose an obstacle to us wanting to help them, certainly an obstacle to us helping them freely or wholeheartedly.
난 이번에 전주sem을 송고 다 마주 레버를 제바 이 시대 지사 마주 레버를 제바 이 시대 난 내가 저기 전주sem바 되기랑 안 저기 니마 파판다제 안추 안지 지게 판다샤바다 안들 말이야 지 결혼기 띵알이야 로봇지로 제스네 파죄다 같이 라고 말했어 맞지 제요 말 와서다 디 마제바이나 마제바이나 레바 세데 레바 세데 안주기 디기두야다 동아시게 탑람 디게 안줄레 띵고레스 띵체네 레바 루버 제바 세데 디니게 탑람 띵지 디기 판디 안줄레 루버 지고레스 전주sem바디 루버 지고레스 제사 전주sem바디기 제사다 디니게 전주sem바디기 안줄야 디기 세야다 동아 주비 세야다 디기 주비게 탑람 되게 략바 데니게 탑라 야보디게 수땡제 만줄야 안 디기 주바 지고로 봐스 데니게 주바 지겐 제주sem바디게 제주sem바 뭐지고 해서 데네 제주sem바 될때 아주 뛰어가 부여되대 지금 인데 인스 데니게 부여 바래야지 푸네 내가 부여 바래야지 제주sem바 뭐지고 해서 디스고 마젤이야 버려 제바이 제주sem바 뭐지고 해서
Just in the previous segment, I missed something. So the point of what was being made there is that for us ordinary people, there is an expectation of gratitude. Even if one doesn't necessarily think I should be given something in return for the help that I give, there is an expectation for that, at least an acknowledgement. If not, in the future when we're in need, they should help us in return. So this is how it is for us ordinary people. But when it comes to that of Bodhisattvas, now continuing with what Geshe just said, we come to the next lines. How much more so Bodhisattvas who freely do good. So Bodhisattvas, they freely or in an unsolicited manner, voluntarily help others. They don't need to be asked or requested. They are there for others in any way they possibly can. And moreover, the way they help others, it stands out from what we as ordinary people can do. So this word, who freely do good, here we should understand do good as having the particular meaning of helping others to identify the causes for happiness and helping others to accumulate those causes, as well as helping others identify the causes that will lead to suffering and helping others abandon them and apply antidotes. This is the meaning of doing good. This is how Bodhisattvas do good. This is how Bodhisattvas help beings. And they do so in a manner that does not need to be requested. It is voluntarily. It's entirely powered by their love and compassion.
tablam ten digi tuya tablam ten nyamsu lenju semjen digi an jewa chima lhada mi gobang toba jewa da an tarbi gobang toba jewa an ya sanyi gobang toba jewa dini shi chigi gorwa je janju semba se pe jen le pamba ge chenpa dini tubo re se bege pe ma se yagu re se janju semba le an chigi mui chigi tuyanga puya da ane dini ki janju semba ge gewa dini ki tuwa pe yagu re se jesu iran che ya nge janjusemba dina jo koy nyamne janjusembe nyamne jeba nashi nge ina ya janjusem gyula geshe konzo nashi nyamne de cheto yo sho sembege molam de da denigi an janjusem de ngazu gyula gyal ya bezo che gore sa de ngazu labjal masone dili gor da tin ya ya.
So this verse of praise for Bodhisattvas is praising for how Bodhisattvas help beings, in particular that they help beings accumulate the causes for a good rebirth. And moreover, where they are able to, they even help beings accumulate causes that will lead to liberation and enlightenment. So this is what Bodhisattvas are being praised for. But moreover, instead of just not only praising them, we too should rejoice in the Bodhisattvas. Rejoice both in their remarkable motivation as well as their skillful activities to benefit others. So the first part here is to praise the Bodhisattvas. The second, which is conjoined, is rejoicing in their motivation and activities. And this then leads to the sincere prayer being expressed. May I become just like them. May I be guided by a similar motivation. May I help beings in a similar skillful manner. So this is the third part, generate this prayer or this aspiration to become just like our teachers, our role models. And then fourthly, that this aspiration is then taken into action, where that inspires us to diligently train our minds and cultivate bodhicitta ourselves.
janju semde je gewa ane pe baodu me ba ge chenpo yinba denegi ane janju semba dege denegi shendun jige dene chukore esiwe janju sembe panyu janju semge panyu janju semba namgi shendun chupta dege pa jingan zuki dusu jine jige goyodu ngan zuki denegi jedu godu 당 안줄이야 즉 되네요 곰 냠내 제 장주심 귤레기 투바 마투바 이네 안줄이야 디고 와서 안줄이 쇠남 지게 바도 매바지 사고를 받아 안줄이 지게 무슨 미게 수금만 장아지 무슨 통고 말 안줄 셈려야 바샤 마선의 시우 샤고를 받아 제가 바샤에서도 쇠남을 봐 제가디 뭐 장주심 귤레기야다 장주심이 냠내 야고 용하게 바샤 개와 바도 매바샤 빼마시기 지나주기 검제 전시심 귤에 깨마토바 이나야 데니게다 퇴섬 제장한 저기 직 데니게 람조당 냠내 직제다 제다 림바데 하고데 빼마스비 게 전부 차고 제사 수에는 바도메 바사고로 와당 지수 이라 소소랑 아주 데니게냐 제게 친연제라야디 지수 이라제 소소랑아래야 지수 이라제야 난 가오곰야 데 아니 차고로 와데 게 전부를 야부로 와
It's important to hear these steps and or to hear these steps, to hear how the process of rejoicing works, because it's something that one is encouraged to do quite often. So here, first, in this particular practice, one starts with praising the good qualities of the Bodhisattvas. In other contexts, one will call them to mind, the qualities of the holy beings. And thereafter one rejoices in their qualities, rejoicing in their motivation as well as their activities. But thereafter, one shouldn't just leave it at this practice of rejoicing. We should use this mind of rejoicing, which is accumulating imprints of inspiration, and take it further. These imprints of inspiration, we should then express as the aspiration, may I become just like them. These beings who were once no different from me, may I train just like they did. So we here express a prayer or an aspiration to become just like these beings, to have their same good qualities. And then having expressed this aspiration to do so, or made this prayer, the final step is then to actually do so, to cultivate these minds within oneself, to hear and reflect repeatedly on these minds, developing them within oneself.
janju sembege panyon, janju semge panyon da, janju sembege ane chik shengi tuanche ba jisu ira che ya da, dine nge ya dine che tuku tuku sembege sam da che, nga zine janju sem du che ne gom che, nga zuki dine ki janju sem gom, nyamlen che ba ina, da junju ki duen ngoma di, nga zu nyamlen che peke da, tuasam che peke tuan da, mwene di chukor wada nyamlen che ya di, kasi janju sem gyula gom, nga zu gom ba ina, nini gom che, janju sem gyula kya ba ina da, junju tuasam che peke, duna ngoma di chupsar chukor wa, dine zada nga zuki dine ki, da jiki dine ki janju sem ki panyon di ki pa sam, di dunda di panyon sam da, jisu ira che, molam jab, da nga zuki dine ki gang tu tu janju sem, jam ni je, ane lhasa namda rinpa chi gom, dine ane sem je tam sanyo gobang tobar shuwa se peke, da nga zuki janju sem di, ane gom goya di, da di, duna ngoma di nga zuki junju chenyen je pe, nga shazang le ya, ade nga zuki lalan kye goya di da, ngoma di dirwa da.
This is important then to understand how to actually engage in the practice of rejoicing, as well as then to be reminded again and again, as we have been throughout these verses, of the incredible qualities of the mind of bodhicitta, and therefore the incredible qualities of those who possess that mind, the bodhisattvas. So you've now heard and been reflecting on this for some time, so I encourage you to continue to do so, because you have met this text this remarkable text by this incredible being, and you now have the possibility to enter into this text. In other words, to cultivate all these good qualities within your own mind. So recognize here that there's nothing that is presented in this text that is beyond you. It is entirely in accordance with your capacity. Do not feel it is too difficult for you, because that is not the case. So train in the way that you heard both here and before, in seeing the equality between beings, that there is no difference between beings. Reflecting on the faults of the self-cherishing and the benefits of the other cherishing mind, cultivate love and compassion, and cultivate that further into the altruistic attitude and eventually into bodhicitta itself. So in those same steps you've heard, and to bring about this development within yourself, also include the reflections on the benefits of bodhicitta, so that a genuine yearning arises within yourself to put aside all these distractions and focus on developing bodhicitta in this life.
Sadang lam siadi. Salam sajurwa, salam ji sajurwa, Simba sana sadang lamya sang, Samba ngana sadang lamya nge. Tamje samba dala rala so siadi, Sunguru. Jizada samba sana, samba sana, samba janshu sambo, janshu simju, Guni lang, Gunlong chi yoba ina, and digi nyamlin jepige, lam yirimba chasang, Bene Jimba Suri Soba Zunla Soba, Chazane, Jale, Pembeda, and the Yakuchungres, and this Tarbatamji Koba to Yuchagres, Samba Sana, Sadan Lamia San, Sadan Lam setting on the Tarbata Tamji Kibe, Tobe Lam Sigurwa. That's Sambangana, Sadan Lamia San Sidu, so you some long amber Kunlong Shanle, Nebada, Sevi Samba Jobaina, Di Gunia Lange, and Diva Sadu, Diva Di Kiwachima. Sonda ki dunga gyures lamres del dunga joya lamdres chesa lam gambares chesa kunlo gambashina samlo gambachiobana di lengega dunga yoya chichagore sada lam gambais chesa tamje sambadala raleso sidu yabu chada macha seada tarbada tamje kimyo gomo top mado sedi samla Kiwachima nga sonlo joda maro sedi chisa nganzo samno nala rali gore samno sangbo da yabo pembe sambe kiwa chubena tarba tamji kibe goba tobu gore ane samno ngamba dibi samba jena chewado nebe samba kunena kunno samno denishiyona digi diba saje kiwachima ane dunga da nga sonya kiwe chagore chisa so semne rali gore chisa semdi nyamlenche kasore semgyu dugu gore saje sungorwada dene donani bota chida dida tisuda jibaro chajusim samba sana sada tisuede.
There's a quotation from Lama Tsongkhapa. Those who are kind-hearted will attain the paths and grounds. Those who have a hard heart will not attain the paths and grounds. And the meaning of this is that if one is kind-hearted, one will have generated bodhicitta, then all will go well. The paths will open up before one, and one will have a remarkable positive impact on everyone. But if one remains hard-hearted, one will just accumulate non-virtue, one will hurt others, bring pain into the lives of others, and one will hurt oneself and hurt one's otherwise good prospects. So in dependence on developing a kind heart, one will progress along the spiritual paths. Good rebirths will be attained for certain, and all good qualities will be developed within oneself, and one will have a meaningful impact on the lives of others. But if one's heart remains cold and closed, one will continue to accumulate ever more non-virtue, bring ever more suffering into the lives of others, and just fall into worse and worse circumstances. So then thank you. We can conclude therefore tonight. Okay. Thank you very much.